Hey Phoenix fam, what's poppin'? Today we're gonna talk about ChestRigs. In particular, my personal ChestRig loadout or setup, because I have some special requirements for my rig. So I Frankenstein these together out of different parts to get the most out of it. And we're also gonna have a look at the difference between a cheap China repro rig and an expensive real steel Gucci rig. If your interest is piqued, stay tuned. We're gonna start out why ChestRigs are a great alternative to plate carriers. Next, we're gonna look at the different styles and what to consider. And finally, I'll share some tips on how to efficiently set up your ChestRig. So first up, we have to ask ourselves, why are we actually using a ChestRig and not a plate carrier? And that's because ChestRigs are actually very versatile. You can wear them by themselves, you can wear them over a plate carrier, or you can actually strap the front part of a ChestRig also to a plate carrier. They're lighter, more flexible, and you basically just carry what you really need. Minus, of course, armor if you're just using a ChestRig just like that. No more, no less. For me as an airsoft player, I kinda love them because I'm lazy. I don't want to run around all day in a plate carrier that is heavy on me, and I always feel like a little bit claustrophobic, that it's like compressing me too much in my chest area, and I kind of think I can run faster with a ChestRig on. I don't know if this is actually true, but it's just what I think in my head. So I like to be very nimble on the airsoft field, and this is why I'm usually choosing to take a ChestRig. That being said, plate carriers are actually perfect for my personal needs because they can house all the equipment I need, like the magazines, and they also give me a sturdy platform, the front plate and especially the back plate, to mount my 360 camera and my antenna. So they basically have everything I need, but I still don't want to use them, which doesn't really make sense because I like to run ChestRigs, but they don't give me that thing that they have a sturdy back. They only have straps in the back, which brings me to a problem I have to solve. A plate carrier is also much better in distributing the weight and balancing it out, especially as an airsoft player. If you run an HPA tank on the back, it's much easier to balance this out, that it's not dragging so much in the back, is what I do. And I did a video on this already. You can check it out in the top right corner now. Is I use a water plate in the front. You can fill up with water. You can drink the water during the day, but gives you some heaviness in the front. This is how I use my plate carrier, but I want to use a ChestRig. Chapter 2, how to choose the perfect ChestRig. There are different stages and styles of ChestRigs. First, we have the super minimal rigs. This is like a bank robber ChestRig, for example. It's basically just an elastic where you put in some magazines, which works really great if you're just playing pickup games for airsoft. Actually really good for the range. Super easy. It just as absolute necessities are taken care of, and you don't need much space. They fold up really small, and they don't take up that much space on your body. Then number 2, we have micro rigs. For example, this one, they usually hold like 3 magazines and a couple of accessories and have like a couple more pouches you can put stuff into. They're fantastic for mobility, but don't think you're gonna be ready for World War III with just bringing 3 magazines. So they're also kind of small. This is also more of the absolute necessities. Basically a little upgrade from the minimal rigs. And then we have also a little upgrade of the micro rigs, which is a full rig. These setups include big pouches, then 3+ magazines at least, and you can house multiple radios, for example, and gear for very long missions. So what should you consider when choosing a ChestRig? First, you should start with ammo. How many magazines do I want to bring? This is the baseline question. Then number 2, what mission-specific gear do I need? Do I need to bring radios? Do I need to bring different accessories? Do I play just an airsoft pickup game, or am I going on the range, or do I go to a long 36-hour plus MILSIM event? Do I need a medikit on it? Do I need access to a multi-tool, a flashlight, multiple radios, or other tools and accessories? And then number 3, what to consider is also don't overload it. Don't put everything you can think of into your ChestRig, because then it's like not really serving its purpose anymore. And overloading all the pouches will just in the end slow you down and make it more uncomfortable to wear, of course. And then you have to think about, do you want to go the China repro route or the Gucci expensive real steel route? There it comes down to basically budget and priorities. So should your ChestRig be a knockoff or a real one? Do you want to save money, or do you want real quality? Are you casual or more hardcore? You just need to be aware if you spend less money, you might get less quality. Or how we like to say sometimes, if you buy cheap, you might buy twice. No, being for real. The China repros, they're perfectly fine for playing airsoft on a casual basis, or they could be even totally okay for emergency situations, to have this as a backup somewhere in your car, whatever. You don't use it all the time, but you just need to be aware of that this might fail you down the road in a real extreme condition. But it's safe to say that the China repros over the last couple of years got a lot better, and they really stepped up the quality. Chapter 3, my micro rig. So when I started building this micro chest rig, I really asked myself, what do I really need in an airsoft game? For me, it needs to hold 3 magazines, it needs to hold a radio, and I need 1 pouch to put a bunch of stuff in, which is like totally random, but that's it. I don't really need more. I don't really need a medikit on here. I don't really need a multi-tool in here. I don't need there to be so much complicated stuff. I don't want it to be too heavy, and I also don't want it to be too expensive. A little disclaimer with chest rigs is, like, for everything that goes with tactical gear, it doesn't really matter that one chest rig is not one fits all kind of thing. It doesn't really matter if you're wearing like a $50 Condor chest rig or a $500 Cry AVS system. The goal is the same. You want to have efficiency and adaptability, and you want to have the best rig for your mission you're trying to solve, your budget, and of course your skill set, because you want to be training in your rig. You want to use it, you want to abuse it, you want to work on it all the time. You need to make your chest rig your own. Like, literally work on it. Like, I spent a whole Saturday just setting up this rig, getting up, like checking the pouches, go to the mirror, go back, readjust the straps, go back to the mirror, check. And this is just one thing before I even tested this on the field. So when I come back, I'm gonna reevaluate, hey, what did I choose here and what do I maybe need to change? Because every minute you spend at home trying to figure out stuff and size it correctly, it will save you so much minutes you spend in advance than on the airsoft field, where you have a headache because nothing is working, everything's flopping, and it's not a pleasant experience. So you should spend the time up front. And of course, you need to train in your stuff so you know how it actually works. And it doesn't matter if it's a $50 or a $500 chest rig. I choose my micro chest rig after I used a couple different chest rigs, like the one Tigers one I was wearing for a little bit, but it came down for me to this one. This micro rig is a knockoff from AliExpress. I liked it because it was M81 and it was not that expensive on AliExpress. And I was pleasantly surprised how good the build quality actually is. It feels good. I've been using this now for over 3 years and it hasn't failed on me. So you don't see any rip-offs or whatever. I used this on very long, very big night operations, whatever, and it's not like broken. I didn't wear it into the absolute ground. But for me, this is so much better than, for example, a Condor you have actually seen on the front lines, which is pretty crazy because their build quality is so much less than this. In the beginning, I was running this with the original straps, but I had one problem because I wanted to add my GMR Minimap, which is this little backpack, and I need this little backpack on my rig, not only now because of the antenna, but because I film my airsoft gameplays and I need a space where I can attach my 360 camera, and that's usually in the back. Also, if I run an HPA system, I want it on my back as well. I don't want it on a belt or something. So this is why I thought, okay, I have to combine this chest rig with this Minimap. But I figured it out pretty quickly. I just had normal straps that would run down here. They would clip in to the D-rings of the Minimap and they would go and clip in the front buckles. But this was like not really comfortable because it was just a naked strap. So I added some shoulder pads onto it, which of course helped with the cushioning effect, but it wasn't that comfy and I didn't really like the style, how it was looking. So I was always on the hunt for something, how I could change this. So I went to an op and there was somebody who suggested to me, hey Phoenix, check out the Cry harness for chest rigs. These are actually really good. So I got myself an M81 one also off of AliExpress. This is also from the Tactical Raiders, and this is actually very nice. It is very good quality, it's very sturdy, super comfortable to wear, and it came with these mounting points exactly here, where the mini-map could just clip in basically with a little clip. I could just attach him to the harness system. Then I would run these little bungees to the back of the mini-map, and I kind of had the thing attached. But there was one problem, and I absolutely hated that problem. It was that because I had these straps and these corners of the harness, I had a problem when I wanted to put on the rig by myself. I basically always needed a third hand to put this chest rig on, which I didn't like at all, because the stuff would get tangled. The straps, when they weren't clipped in yet, they would like go behind my back and I couldn't reach them. I couldn't tell if they would be tangled or not. I always needed a person to help me put it on. And that was a big no-no for me. I did it anyways for like over 2 years, but I think I came to a point where I was like, yeah, this is not really working for me anymore. Even though that if it was on, it was really, really comfortable. The harness is really nice because it distributes the weight pretty well on the shoulders, and I also think it looks good. It has multiple stuff you can route your comms through there. It's super easy, but it wasn't 100% working for me, so to speak. For a typical game of Airsoft during like a pickup game, this was totally fine. There's multiple people around that could help me. We could play all day, and then in the end or in the break, I take it off and I ask someone to help me again. But if you're running on like a many days milsim, this becomes a little bit a problem, because you might want to have a break and take it off and then put it back on again. And I couldn't rely on other people to help me all the time. So, but let me just quickly show you what I used here everywhere. So I had 3 magazine pouches here in the front. This is just 3 AR magazines I put in there. Then here in the front pouch, I had 2 pistol magazines. Sometimes I only put them in there to give the front a little bit more weight if I would run an HPA tank in the back, just to level out the weight distribution between the front and the back, that the chest rig is not riding up so high that I'm gonna get choked out. But you guys still have to remember, this is a chest rig. This is not a belly rig. I see so many people having their chest rigs on their belly. This is not what it is. It's a chest rig. It should go high, but it shouldn't go so high that if you try to get a magazine out, you give yourself a chin hook and you're laying there completely KO on the airsoft field. I like them to be quite high, to be honest, but I don't want to have them riding all the way up because my back is so heavy. I used these radio pouches here on the side. They came with them, these flaps. They're okay. I don't really like that the radio gets like smushed so much into your side. Also, if you sweat a lot, the radio is actually getting wet. I don't know, it's not bad for the radio, but it's like a little icky. I didn't 100% like that much. It's also gonna get quite squished because the straps run over it, which is good in the sense that it's secure, it's not flopping around. But sometimes I thought with the shorter radio, it's like really pressing onto the antenna port, and yeah, I wasn't really sure if it's not breaking any connections. This flap I basically never used. I think this is like, I never opened this in like the last 2 years. It has 2 more spots for pistol magazine. You could put a pen in here, multi-tool, but I was just never using this, to be honest. Then I just have a couple different patches. In the big compartment, I was always having at least one little wipe to wipe my eye pro if I would fog up, or if I'm in the break and I wanna just like do a little readjustment of the fogging on my glasses. I had multiple microfiber cloths in here, plus any game-related items. If I had like in-game money or something like this, I would put this in here. Also, during the night operations, I would put in the handheld thermal camera. I had this in here, and then I would take it out when I need it, which was basically all the time. But if we would go back to respawn or something, I would just put it in here and store it in here. And then in the front, I usually had some money, maybe a map, something I don't need to access all the time that is a little bit more secure. Yeah, but that's basically it. Super only the necessities. I used this so many times, and I kind of a little bit moved on from the M81, even though I still like it a lot. I got a little bit interested in front closing chest rigs. The idea of a front closing chest rig sounded great to me because this would solve my problem that I couldn't put on the micro rig by myself. This is much easier to put on because this is already, the backside is already sturdy and configured. You only need to have access to the front, which is easy by yourself if it's in the front, obviously. Plus, I actually don't need it that much space that I had on the micro rig. I used the 3 big magazines, I used the radio pouch, and I used the dangler for a couple things. I didn't really use this front side flap at all. For me, it was time to move on. Plus, having more comfort sounded great to me. And I even thought about, or I'm still thinking about, ditching my battle belt and just using this as everything. This is the Spiritus System 34A chest rig, and it's legit purchased by me at Spiritus System pouch by pouch. Except for one pouch. One pouch is off AliExpress, and I want you to have a look right now. Which one do you think of these pouches is from AliExpress? And it is actually the Mutant Pouch right here, because this thing is sold out in America absolutely everywhere. One night I was at the local pub and I got an email notification in the bar that these are back in stock. And I'm like, okay, let me finish my beer. Tomorrow morning while I'm having a coffee, I'm gonna buy this. And by the time the next morning arrived, these were already sold out for months. I tried to find this in America. It was not possible. So I said to myself, okay, I tried everything. I'm going with AliExpress. So I went with Pure Technical and I got this in the mail faster than I could say Spiritus System Mutant Pouch. And I have to say, I actually like it a lot. The quality is great. And I don't really think that you can tell from the fabric that these are super crazy different. It doesn't stick out that much that it's like, okay, the color's off, the camo is off. Perfectly fine to me. For my applications, I think this is okay. But could you tell that this is from AliExpress? Please let me know down in the comments. Let me just show you how I set up everything. It took a while. I used like the better half of a Saturday to just figure everything out. But I started with 2 spot pouches in the front, most close to the center of my body, which is gonna hold in the end 4 M4 mags. So they're double stacked here. There's one only in here, but the build quality is so nice. Like these things, they are awesome. Like I think you can even stack in there 3 and 3 if you wanted to. 2 and 2, which is already 1 meg more in this rig than I had in my micro rig. Then here on the left side, I have the Mutant Pouch we already talked about. It has my radio in it that it's routed to my antenna right here. This is the yogurt cup antenna. If you're interested, this is really cool antenna. It has 2 antennas inside. One is for voice and one is for data. And the data is running down here to a T-Beam Meshtastic device. Maybe I'm going to talk about this more because this is really interesting, especially for Airsoft. And then here in the main compartment, I have the Velcro is so hard to open. I have a little Nalgene bottle in here. This is, what is that, 14 ounces, so 400 milliliters of water in here. I had the feeling that I didn't have a space to properly put a water bottle in this, because if you put one in here and you have half a kilo dangling in front of your belly and you start running, it always flops back and forth and like punches you in the belly. It wasn't that like comfortable, but having it on the left side on my body, I'm right-handed, so I'm shouldering on the right. Left side, I can use a little bit more space to have, in this case, a water bottle. Also, this adds a little bit of front heaviness to again balance out the back side, where we're going to come to in a second. So I opted to put the water in here because this is a more or less open pouch. I don't want to have anything falling out of here, so I chose something that is protected by itself. I'm not going to put in my phone in here or something like that. There's a lot more space in here, but that's it for now. And then on the back, I have a Milsim West tourniquet for getting medics back into the game on a Milsim event, so I don't need to use these little bandages, which I always lose. Then on the other side, I also have a spud pouch that's holding 2 magazines. And then I have a medium pouch. And in the medium pouch, I try to keep it a little bit more slim because it's on the side where I rifle my shoulder. I don't want too much stuff going on here, so I have good movement. I have in here a couple multiple things. First of all, I have the therm vault in here. There's a phone inside. Then I have a little like waterproof, more or less, bag that basically lets me organize a little bit in there that not all the stuff is flying around. So in this case, because I'm going to an op on Saturday, which is going to be quite cold, I have some hand warmers in here if I want to use them. Then if you know, I have a Sexy Man playing card game in here. I like to hand these out if people get me. If you have to give them your player card, because on big milsim events sometimes you have like something you have to give out, I always slip one of those in. It's very funny if they find out when they give this to their commander and they didn't notice. And then I just have some real money in here and my personal player pass for big ops. You sometimes need those. And some other stuff that is more administration. So this is something I don't really need that often. Then I have in here some maps of my local fields. This is like a local field. Then I have a radio little thing where I can see what PMR channel is which frequency. And then from the last op I went to Light Sim, I have a little battle map so I can relay to people where I am, stuff like that. Usually I don't really need those because now we're using Meshtastic devices that show my GPS location, and I can use ATAC, which is the Android Team Awareness Kit. It's basically a tactical application that lets you make little battle maps. Like this is basically the map you'd see in Battlefield, but like it's used by the US government and a lot of other stuff, but they made a civil version, and you can use Meshtastic devices, these little T-Beam boards. I'm going to show you. There's one in my backpack that runs over this. And a Meshtastic device is nothing really more than a little AirTag, more or less, that shares in its own network. So you don't need phone connection. It shares text messages and GPS location. So I can see on this phone that doesn't have a SIM card in it where my battle buddies are on the field. And I can text them and say, hey, come to me if I might not reach them on the radio. Of course, I need connection to the mesh that's being created by the little T-beams. But the more of people that have these, the bigger the mesh gets. So, and then you can overlay actually your map that I have here on the table. I already showed you. I have this overlaid over the Google Maps, so to speak, so I can really see where people are. And this is really cool. I'm thinking about doing a dedicated Meshtastic and ATAC video because I also set up now my own ATAC server on a Raspberry Pi. It's a deep, deep rabbit hole to go down to, but I think it's really, really interesting for especially longer time of events, maybe even game days, that you can always find your battle buddies on the field. And it doesn't require that much knowledge nor much money because these T-beam boards, and I have one in my minimap right here. So this is the infamous GMR minimap. I have a little box. This is just an old box from China repro Red Dot or something. These are these little Meshtastic devices. They need a big battery in the back, and then the antenna attaches here, and this is a GPS antenna. And they create their own little off-the-grid mesh network, and you can communicate with your buddies, and they can see your location, and you can see their location. And this is really fun, and it is basically what RS Alpha is, and I think the Red Fox tracker, they call it, from Jet the Desert Fox, but you don't need cell reception, which is sometimes a problem, especially in bigger milsim areas. For example, in Germany, it's Malwinkel. You don't always have cell reception with everyone, but these run totally off the grid. This antenna not only looks amazing, but it gives me good range on voice and data. If you're interested in a much more detailed video and how to set everything up, please let me know in the comments. Then I'm going to make an absolutely dedicated video to off-the-grid comms, how I set up my comms on this one, and how you would use Meshtastic in your own team in combination with the ATAC app. Let's move on, because we were already talking about the minimap. and I talked about the Minimap a lot on my Instagram stories. It was imperative for me to mount this onto the ChestRig, which has an H harness. Of course, I want to use the antenna and I need a mounting point for the 360 camera. I think the antenna could have somehow fit only on the straps, but for the 360 camera, it needs a little bit of solid base, so to speak. And then, of course, if I want to use HPA tank, I need something to mount it there. What I came up with, I tried a lot of different things. I had straps running around from like that would clip into the D-rings right here and would go all the way to the front of the ChestRig and would attach here. And it wasn't really working out for me. So I came up with this momentarily solution, which is not much more than I just Velcroed in. So the H harness of the Spiritus System 34A comes with soft Velcro on the back of the strap of the H harness. And I just put it in between the Velcro of the Minimap and the little like back panel thing that's like this mesh that is like a backpack backside. And I basically sandwiched it in between and it holds. Like it's not really coming off. So far, I think this is something to test out. Not because I was trying with these straps and I didn't really know how I should attach this and it wasn't really looking that nice to me. I was thinking, let's really simplify it down and see what I can come up with and what I'm gonna test this weekend on the field. And then I come back to the office and see if I have to readjust, if this is working or not, is this coming off, or do I really need to add multiple straps? Speaking of straps, on the left side where I have my comms, also my radio, I have the CT5 tech mic from Jci.Comms. This is a real specialty item and it was kind of expensive, so don't tell anyone. But this is a speaker mic that can also accept any kind of hearing protection. So in my case, that would be Peltors, but it can also accept any kind of headphones that have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So this is a little bit of everything, which is really cool. So I can have it just like this as a loudspeaker, so I can hear it coming out loud, so can everyone else around me hear the comms coming in. Then I can use my headset if I need active hearing protection, if there's be bangers or whatever on the field allowed. Or I'm gonna try out some bone conductor headphones that run 3.5 millimeter jacks. And then I have comms. I didn't talk about my radio yet. So the radio I'm using right here, this is the Baofeng Uv-25. It is really big and sturdy, which I actually really like because it gives me also some weight in the front. It is not so tiny, mini, finicky. I actually like this, and it comes with a giant battery. I used this on and off. I didn't need to charge it anything. On Saturday, I set up this rig. I was happy about it. I put the rig in my closet, and by accident, I turned it on. And then while yesterday, getting everything ready for this video, which is like 5 days later, the radio was still on. It was like almost getting out of juice, but 5 days later it was still on and showing me battery. It wasn't transmitting. Anyways, this is how I run it. And then the antenna cable is routed through the 34A panel and then through the strap. And what I love to use are these Velcro cable ties. They are so easy to use and you can just like attach stuff everywhere. Then I also talked about on my Instagram stories of how I should secure straps that are too long. And for this one, I used just regular camo tape. I folded them together and taped them together. And I think it looks really nice. It looks better than just black electrical tape. Also, if you're interested how I mounted the whole thing, the antenna and the 360 stick, I used this panel, which is attached with a Velcro on the inside. And this backpack panel offers a lot of like different mounting solutions. So what I did, I used this angle bracket and I kind of like basically glued it more or less with Velcro into the back panel and I sandwiched it in between the back panel and the Minimap. And then I put a bunch of cable ties around them, so this is kind of sturdy. The same thing I did with the stick of the 360 cam. I put the bungees around, different cable ties, and then there's different bungees also on this back panel. This is really, really cool back panel thing. Can highly recommend it. I was really happy that a viewer recommended this to me on my Instagram because this thing is awesome. And then what I also run in here is I got something from AliExpress. It's basically also, it's for your trunk to hold basically a fire extinguisher. It's also a Velcro band that attaches with Velcro. And this cinches down on my HPA tank so it doesn't flop around in the backpack. So this is a little bit more secure if I slide it in here. One last thing is what I attached is a little dump pouch under my left side because I am trying to use this without a battle belt. So I can open this little dump pouch up here. I can dump in my empty magazines and I still have a place to put them and I don't need to reinsert them into this butt pouch, which is perfectly fine. People do that all the time, but I do like a dump pouch. And this is a one I got from AliExpress, super cheap. I like the netted ones because any dirt or sand just falls through it. So you don't collect up a bunch of dust where you put in your magazine and then they're gonna get dirty and stuff. So I like these. It was kind of hard to molly this in underneath already the Mutant Pouch here, but I think it kind of works. Again, I'm gonna try this out and see if this works or if I need to readjust. I also need a place to store a backup because sometimes you need a pistol and it's required by the rules because if you enter a building you might need to switch because you're not allowed to shoot with your main replica. So what I am thinking now is that I'm going to stuff it in here. The Spiritus Systems ChestRig panels offer these inside elastic pouches, which are really cool. So this is for 7.62, 5.54, and then pistol mag here. I might use one of those to stick in my replica and basically sandwich it between me and the ChestRig. So let's get to the verdict of this video is if you're playing Airsoft casually or you're casually going to the range, you're just like trying out stuff on a more casual day-to-day basis, China or good quality repro stuff is absolutely good enough for you. There's no need to overpay for features that you don't really need, especially if your gear is not exposed to these super hardcore scenarios where you really need the stuff to be absolutely top notch. But if you are a milsim enthusiast and you need gear to be a little bit more cross-platform, so you also do like hiking or night hiking or more active shooting sports, and you value the durability, the quality, and also the prestige, investing in premium tactical gear might be worthwhile for you. Ultimately, the conclusion is use what works for you within your budget and for your specific use case. There's no right or wrong as long as the gear that you have serves you in that way that it does what you require of it. It keeps you comfortable and functional on the field or wherever you go. And of course, you like the looks because this is also a big part of it. Because details matters. Use your gear, tie down stuff, test your gear in different scenarios and learn what works for you. That's all that matters. And I hope you will get something out of this video where you're like, hey, this is actually really interesting how he connected here the backstrap of the H harness that goes through the minimap, and he took the strap that was too long and he routed that again through a clip on the minimap so it stabilizes a little bit. And yeah, I just hope you get out of this a little bit because I like these videos where like, oh, that looks interesting and makes me start to work on my stuff a little more. I need to battle test this now. If you have any questions about this or if I forgot to tell you anything about anything, if you want to learn more about Meshtastic and ATAC and all that stuff, write me down in the comments. I'm happy to ask any kind of questions. Also, because of that, I'm gonna revamp my Discord server so we can have a little bit better communication about all this Meshtastic and COM stuff because I'm really into that right now. I'm gonna see you in the next video. Have a good one. Bye. See you in the next one. I already said that, but yeah. I love this new setup. Haut rein, Leute.